Hey, what's up everyone, and in this video I have a Lenovo laptop. This laptop from the outside is in a super great shape and it's working, but this is on the first look only. This machine is heavy overheated and not starting always, or it has some random freezes because the dedicated GPU is dead. Now let's start and do something with this beautiful laptop, and first I start by removing the bottom case. While testing the laptop, I also noticed that some screws are missing. One of the hinges is a little bit loosey, and a very unpleasant and heavy smell was coming from the laptop. After I took out the bottom case, things started to be more clear. But first, I removed the battery because the battery is okay and it keeps power. This laptop is heavily overheated, and I found traces that the laptop is used in a high humidity conditions and smoking area. This laptop was cleaned before, obviously. Just some basic dust around the cooling. Also, there is missing sticker or one small plastic part that is on the cooling fan. And this part is to fill the gap between the cooling fan and the heatsink, so the air can pass directly through the heatsink. Without this part, the air will go half to the heatsink, but the other half will go above the heatsink, and this is not good for cooling. Also, the smell is coming from around the cooling fan, and it's pretty stinky. This is not the first or the last time I have seen something like this, and it's very usual when the laptop is used in smoking and higher humidity conditions. Now, I'm going to disassemble the laptop as much as possible, and a few words about this situation. I always recommend to try avoiding using your laptop or other electronics in a smoking area, because the smoke from the cigarettes or cigars is sticking very easily to the electronics, especially on the cooling fan. In a few weeks to a few months, the smoke will become like a glue, and then the other dust and dirt will very easily stick to the cooling and the motherboard. And yes, this can affect the hardware, but accept that the smoking near electronics may and will affect the warranty of the product. And if something happens with your device, the warranty may not be valid for repairs or anything else. So it's better to avoid some things like this as much as possible. In this case, this is not a reason why the graphic card is overheated, but I'm gonna come to that part later and do a little explanation. Now, before I continue, let's take a look at the palm rest and the bottom case. This laptop is pretty much overheated, plus the smoke, and many parts are almost imprinted on the case. So we can clearly see where some elements and some parts are. On the bottom case, the cooling fan and the RAM are very clearly visible. This RAM is imprinted, and unfortunately, this RAM module is not working anymore, and the RAM that is on this motherboard is mounted after the old one stopped working. Before I continue with anything, I packed the motherboard and I took the motherboard to my friend for repair. The GPU chip is overheated and damaged, but except the GPU chip, one of the GPU memories is dead as well. So this problem can be fixed by replacing the board or simply by turning off the GPU. Turning off the GPU physically from the motherboard. In this case, the GPU will be turned off. This power conductor is crucial for the power management. So by removing this power conductor, the GPU will be turned off, and the laptop will work using Intel graphics only. After removing this power conductor, I continue with testing the laptop. I have explained this in my previous video more. How actually this trick is working. Also, this is the cheapest solution if you wanna repair the dedicated GPU on the laptop. Without doing actual repair. The laptop will continue to work perfectly fine using Intel HD graphics, and the laptop will act like there is no dedicated GPU at all. Also, this repair costs nothing. It's just removing one component, in this case. Also, the component that I removed here to turn off the GPU does not mean that this is a crucial component to the other laptops. Other laptops may have or will have different components. Maybe some other component will be placed in a different place and under a different code. After I test the laptop, I separate the palm rest and the display because of cleaning. Before anything, first I clean my desk. and then I move to clean the motherboard and the other components. Actually, while repairing something or while making some restorations, I always keep my desk clean because later I don't want dust to be stick on the clean parts and to avoid scratching or damaging some of the parts. The motherboard, I clean it using standard things as always, such as cotton buds, isopropyl alcohol, and brushes. To clean the cooling fan and the heatsink, I'm going to use degreaser, and I'm going to use deionized and distillated water. In some cases, I can wash the cooling when the cooling is too dirty, and this is like doing an exorcism on the cooling fan. I'm joking here, but this cooling fan is too dirty and too stinky, so I have to do something about that. Later, after this type of washing, I always rewash the cooling using isopropyl alcohol because the alcohol will push out even the tiniest dirt and the other particles. Distillated and deionized water can be used to wash some electronics, like cooling fans, motherboards, and similar things, but this cannot be used to wash keyboards, displays, optical or storage devices. Also, distillated and deionized water is a pure water, so it contains no ions and is not power conductive, and this water in many cases can be used to wash electronics. After finished with cleaning the smaller electronics, I moved to clean the display. To clean the display, I used a mixture of isopropyl alcohol and anti-static glass cleaner. The display and the whole top of the laptop are a little bit dirty only, but in general, this whole part is in a super great condition, which sometimes is very rare to see. Well, after finished with the display and the whole top side, I moved to clean the case. Because the keyboard is non-removable, I cannot wash this part. So here I had to be very careful with the cleaning. And this part I'm going to clean it using isopropyl alcohol, brushes and soft napkins. Also, while cleaning, I always wash the brushes and the napkins. During cleaning, I wash it even 2 or 3 times. Because the brush will suck the dirt and the dust from the plastics and the other components. And this is the result. I try to remove the dirt as much as possible. The yellowish foil is actually burned from the temperatures, but the rest of the case is much cleaner than before, and not as stinky as before. I mean, there's no any smell coming from the plastic or the case. One of the brass nuts on the palm rest is a little bit damaged, but fortunately not too much damage, and the repair was easy here. And finally, the bottom case. Because there's no electronics on the case, I wash this case using degreaser, dish soap and warm water. I have done this under a sink in the bathroom. Now I have moved to assemble this laptop. Well, and I'm almost done. At the end, I had to find some screws that are missing to make this machine complete. And this is the final result. And a few words about this Lenovo laptop. This machine has an 8th generation Intel i5 CPU, 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB SSD, and this is good enough for most daily basic tasks, such as browsing the web, working with documents, Office, PDF and etc. It's good for listening to music, watching movies and videos, and it's okay to play some low requirement games. Also, the battery on this laptop is still in a great condition and still working well. In addition, there is a couple of reasons why overheating is happening. The major reason is using the laptop on a bad surface. This pad here that I'm working on is to avoid scratches or some damage, but this is not a good surface to place and use the laptop. This surface or anything similar. We can see here that below the laptop there is no space for fresh air and no space for normal cooling. Without some soft surface, the laptop will have space for fresh air and cooling. Also, when I work on a laptop and I don't have an additional cooling pad, I always put something below the back feet on the laptop. Usually I use some USBs or something similar. And these SSD are just to show. The SSDs were the closest things to my hand. Also, if you don't have a cooling pad, you can put some stuff to leave the laptop a little bit. The other problem with overheating is placing and using the laptop on a bed, blanket or anything similar. Usually these things contain a lot of tiny dust that is sucked into the cooling. Then this dust will block the heatsink and the overheating becomes the problem. So this is recommended to avoid. And the last thing is, many people when they finish with working or using the laptop, just will close the laptop and put the laptop in a bag or backpack. But this can be a problem. With closing the lid only, the laptop is not turned off. The laptop is in a sleep mode. That means that the laptop may still be active and it's under power. So basically, if the laptop is still working, the laptop will going to cook itself inside the bag or the backpack. I have seen many cases where the laptops are overheated, and that because of this. Well, and this is all about this Lenovo laptop, and I'm very glad because this laptop is working again. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope this video will give ideas and inspiration to back some tech or some other stuff in function again. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.